This is a silhouette recognized across the globe. The brushed steel wedge, the heavy gull-wing doors, and the flaming tire tracks of a time machine. But the engineer who built it didn't find immortality in a lab. He found it in a federal holding cell. In October 1982, John DeLorean was caught on hidden FBI cameras agreeing to bankroll a $24 million cocaine smuggling operation. As his car company spiraled toward bankruptcy, the man responsible for it turned to a high-stakes narcotics deal to keep the factory doors open. It is a sharp departure for a man who, only years prior, was the golden boy of General Motors, the youngest vice president in the company's history. DeLorean rose through the ranks of Pontiac throughout the 1960s by delivering results the company's conservative board couldn't ignore. Look at the aggressive lines of the 1964 Pontiac GTO. GM had a strict ban on putting large engines in midsize cars, but DeLorean and his team found a loophole, offering a massive V8 engine as an option package. They effectively launched the American muscle car era by ignoring corporate policy. By 1972, he was earning $650,000 a year, but his public image didn't match the Detroit mold. He was a celebrity figure who wore tailored Italian suits, dated Hollywood models, and preferred European exotics to his own company's products. Eventually, he grew vocal in his criticism of the industry, accusing Detroit of intentionally engineering cars to fail so consumers would buy new ones. In 1973, he walked away from GM to build what he called an ethical car, a machine designed to last forever. He took the same audacity that made him a legend at Pontiac and bet it all on a rogue startup. The DMC-12 prototype called for a design that was both radical and permanent. The centerpiece was a metallic skin that would never require paint and would never rust. This machinery was used to stamp and roll the exterior panels from 304 austenitic stainless steel. Because the steel was unpainted, it left no room for error during assembly. If a panel was dented, it couldn't be fixed with body filler and hidden under a fresh coat of paint. Every surface had to be microscopically perfect or it was discarded. The defining feature was the gull-winged doors. They were heavy, reinforced for safety, and packed with complex glass and electronics, making them nearly impossible to lift using standard automotive hinges. DeLorean hired Grumman Aerospace to engineer a solution: cryogenically preset torsion bars. Wound under extreme tension, they counterbalance the door's weight. This aerospace-grade hinge geometry only required 11 inches of side clearance, allowing opening where traditional doors get trapped. These bleeding-edge features were expensive. DeLorean's refusal to compromise on the engineering drained the company's capital before they had even finished the factory. To fund the project, DeLorean took £80 million from the British government to build a plant in Belfast. They were desperate to bring jobs to an area struggling with high unemployment and the violent sectarian conflict known as the Troubles. But the factory was plagued by production delays. When the cars finally arrived, they were criticized for having an underpowered engine and a high price tag just as the world entered a recession. As unsold inventory piled up, Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher refused to provide more aid. By early 1982, the British government placed the company into receivership, effectively ending production. Facing total collapse, DeLorean met a former neighbor and convicted drug smuggler named James Hoffman, who claimed he could secure the financing needed to save the factory. The financing was an FBI sting. This hidden surveillance equipment was built into the cases used by undercover agents, posing as a Colombian cartel. They offered DeLorean a deal to move $24 million worth of cocaine. On October 19, 1982, in room 501 of a Los Angeles hotel, DeLorean inspected a briefcase of cocaine, called it good as gold, and was immediately arrested by the agents he thought were his partners. His singular focus on saving the factory had led him directly into a heavily monitored federal trap. When the case reached the U.S. District Court, the tapes had already been leaked to the media. The public had seen the footage of DeLorean handling the drugs, and a conviction seemed certain. His attorneys ignored the physical evidence and focused on the legal concept of entrapment. This required proving DeLorean had no prior dispresentation to commit the crime and was only involved because of government inducement. The defense argued the FBI informant aggressively pursued DeLorean, exploiting his financial desperation and threatening his family until he agreed to play along. After 29 hours of deliberation, the jury agreed. They found John DeLorean not guilty on all counts, concluding that federal agents had overstepped their authority to manufacture the crime. He was a free man, but he was also a bankrupt one. The trial ended his career, destroyed his reputation, and left him with millions in legal debt. By the time of the acquittal, the dream was over. The Belfast factory was liquidated, and the 2,500 people employed there were out of work. 1 year later, a science fiction film called Back to the Future premiered in theaters. The filmmakers needed a car that looked futuristic enough to be mistaken for a spaceship in the year 1955. They chose the DMC-12 for its stainless steel body and its unique doors, turning the failed sports car into a global icon. This cinematic success effectively resurrected the brand. While the scandal and bankruptcy ended DeLorean's career, the movie provided the car with the immortality he had originally envisioned. The story of John DeLorean remains a study in the intersection of engineering genius and personal ruin. Was he a victim of government overreach, or a man destroyed by his own choices? Let us know your thoughts in the comments.